Welcome to today's stream, and today we want to build today we want to build a new application using the Angular 16 features. So there are a bunch of new features and we want to just build like some small things using all of those new features. So reset the canvas. So basically a list of features I want to use is this text? Yeah. So I would say we will for sure use some SSR. So basically Angular hydration. Then next we will use required inputs. We will also use routed component inputs. I think the official term is routed component input bindings. But yeah, I think we will use that. Then what else? What else was released? Of course, we will use some standalone schematics, because there are some new standalone schematics to either scaffold a new project standalone or to just generate like standalone components, standalone directives, and so on. Then we will also use, let me see. Yeah, probably we will use, oh my god. I want to continue writing here. So we will sure use the Esbuild, so basically Esbuild, so the VOD builder. Then what we will use is also, we will try to write some tests with Jest. Then another thing that was released in Angular 16, of course, how could I forget about it? Signals, RxJS, interop. So that's also something we have to use. We will use some smaller features like self-closing tags, because now you can use self-closing tags. That's pretty cool. Maybe we will also cover, I don't think we will use it, but maybe we'll cover destroyRef and zoneless. I don't think we will use zoneless, but we can quickly cover how we can disable zone. But that's basically the idea, and the application we are going to build is a search field that displays some GitHub users. So that would be something like, like this. So this would be the GitHub user with a image, and then here we would have some sort of name, username, for example. Then we would build that whole list. And if you click on a user, then you will basically navigate to a user detail page. So this should be like the navigation. Till here. Oh my. Yeah, that's a nice arrow. And here we would then display some user details. So basically, this would be /users. And over here we have user details or something like this. And we will try to come up with this simple application and just use all of those features that we mentioned here, all the Angular 16 features. So let's go ahead and create a GitHub repository where we just create a new project. And we just call it new A16 app. It's a public one, no template, create repository, makes sense. Then we open up a terminal here. So that's still something I have to close. Okay, here comes our terminal. So we go documents, code, private, and then npx. In Angular CLI latest new, how did we call the repo? We called it A16 app. Oh, and of course, here comes the first Angular 16 feature. So what we want to do is ---- standalone. If we could type that correctly, that would be nice. Standalone. Yes, it's okay if you install Angular CLI. Yes, we want routing and we want to use SAS. That sounds good. We'll probably also use some Tailwind on the way. So this will now install the packages. In the meantime, we can copy this out here and just enjoy our coffee. This coffee is pretty cool. It's some fresh beans that I bought this morning from Ethiopia. They are very, very nice. So, A16 app, not into node modules. I don't know why he always changes directly into the node modules. And then we say basically we add a remote and we just push. So you can see how we push, the rocket is flying over there. So let's open up our project in a IDE. I will quickly do this here on my other screen. So open documents, code, A16 app. Yeah. So here the IDE is coming. Let's bump the font size. Font, so we go to 22 pixels. All right, something like this, 22, we bump that. And now we have our setup. I actually prefer to have it all inlined. So we could have generated that also out of the box, but I with standalone components, I somehow like the inline style. So I like to go like this, nice app, and then the styles URL, we just completely get rid of it. And then we delete the CSS and the app component. Now what we want to do is install Tailwind. So install Tailwind with Angular. We first need those two lines. We paste them, we init Tailwind. Then we need to copy this one, so this bit here, and we should have a brand new Tailwind config. Under content, we add that, we remove this, and we finally add that to styles.css, styles.scss, sorry. And now we should be able to use this inside our app component, not in the spec. Inside here, we can basically apply some Tailwind styles. We can go over here, app and run start, and we have Tailwind included. So we should get an underlined hello world text. Something like this. That looks good. It's pretty bright. It's extremely bright. So let's change that. So let's go to styles and let's even go to index.html to the body, and let's add a class beachy slate. Let's go with a slate 800 or something. I think this looks better. And then generally we can apply a text wide on the top. So we have a white text, we have a hello world. That looks nice. So let's commit that. So let's open up git status, everything. No. npx, I want to call npx git commitison. Then feature add Tailwind. Then we push that, and here we go. Good. So now let's start using like the first features. So let's say we want to have a header. So what we would do is ng generate component, then we say core header, and we pass in the -- standalone. So that's the new Angular 16 flag. -t, -s, that means like -inline template, -inline styles, and the change detection strategy on push, so that we have a nice header for our application. So we see we get a core header component, and inside here we can now do a div, and we just call it a height of 12, a BG slate 800. What did we use on the body? It's 800, so maybe 600. And we just have GitHub user search or something like this. And then inside our app component, we import the header component and we just display, how did we call it? App header. And now the cool thing is we can use standalone self-closing tags. So this one is new with Angular 16. So previously you had to do something like app header and then a closing tag, but now you can do it like this. So now we get this GitHub user search. I don't know, the header should maybe be darker. Maybe go with 900 here. 900, yeah. And then of course this should also be a flex container and item center, something like this. I think this looks good. Maybe we also add some padding of 4, something like this. It's not perfect, but we have a nice header. So let me also include that so that we can always have our application running. Wait, how do I have to do that? So I extract that tab, I make that tab full screen, and I drag it over here. And now, yeah, GitHub user search. So we have our tab here. Good. So that was the second thing, or that was already some Angular 16 features, but I forgot that we are still serving using the normal builder. But in Angular 16, we can also serve it different. Hey Ilber, how is it going? It's good. Still a bit sad over the departure of Karim the legend. I don't know how we want to replace Benzema. That's a hard one to take. I didn't see that coming. That was really... that hurts. But I guess they are now searching for, or they are now trying to get Harry Kane. I don't know how good he will do actually, because usually the English players have like a hard time. We just signed Jude Bellingham, but there I have more hopes that he... Yeah, I have hopes that he will be a good player for the future, because it's a good investment in the future. So yeah, what I wanted to try is basically use the Esbuild, which uses VOD under the hood. And the way we can do that, so let's also see what it means. So let's do a normal npm run start. Yeah, how to replace? It's really hard because there are not so many like real 9s out there. So there is Haaland, but we won't get Haaland. Yeah, I think it's going to be hard. And what other 9s are there out? We could get Mbappe, but probably next year maybe. But after what happened last summer, I'm not so sure if we even want that. But yeah, you saw that the time is 2 seconds to actually start up the thing. So now let's try to add Esbuild. So what we will do, we will go into the Angular JSON, and then under the builder, so we have somewhere builder, there, we will browser, and we will basically just add Esbuild. Not with 2 Angular. And now this should switch to builder, and let's see what that does. Building. Okay, it's 2.4. It's actually not so much faster. I thought it's much faster for the reload actually. But yeah, now we are basically switching to Esbuild behind the scenes. And somehow it seems like our styles are broken. So the Tailwind styles somehow don't seem to work. I was not aware of this. Is this an open issue because we still go to content source? Or do I maybe just have to It's developer preview. I don't know if it's fully working with Tailwind. I don't know if somebody had this issue yet. But if it doesn't work, then we probably switch back. Yeah, so let's switch back. I will then research if this is still something that doesn't work yet. So that's new, but yeah, it's anyway still development preview, right? So let's serve it again using the normal builder, and we get back our Tailwind styles. So that's pretty cool. It should be working with Tailwind now, okay? Because when I switch it, I mean, if Brandon, you say it should be working, then I expect that I'm doing something wrong, right? Because I just switched the builder, and then, yeah, then basically the Tailwind stuff disappears. I don't know if I'm missing something here. It's coming in 16.1. Okay, because I am on (16.04). I think that's the latest, right? How is it at Angular/Angular or something? I think that's the repo name. Release is 16.04, yeah, okay. So then probably here it will probably come in 16.1, but I'm curious now. Resolve deprecation. Can I easily upgrade this? So probably, let's see. Not a very meaningful. So let's see, can I do, is there something like ng update Angular CLI next? Probably it's tagged under next. Does this work? So 16.1 release candidate 0, let's see. Do you think inject function, destroyRef and effects tied a lot of code in constructor, even though all the time we are told to not? Yeah. I mean, you can use a lot of those things in an injection context, which is not only the constructor, right? Like effect not, but the inject function and destroyRef you can also use outside, but still in an injection context. And if you don't use it in an injection context, you can still have, there's a function that Angular exports, like run in injection context, which you can pass an injector, and then you could actually run it from everywhere, theoretically. But yeah, the constructor gets spoiled up, but that's then even getting like worse actually in that regard, because I think when signal-based components come out, then you will get the lifecycle hooks, and the way I understood it, you will do all the lifecycle hooks in the constructor. So 16.1 next, okay, npm run start, so that's the normal one, or we are still using Esbuild, yeah. Okay, port is still in use, probably here. So this should be gone, good. Let's see. That looks better. So Brandon, you are absolutely right. 16.1, you can use Esbuild and together with Tailwind. So perfect. Nice. Good. What I wanted to do is then next go ahead and implement a user search. So I have too many terminals open. And for the user search, we will basically have two things. First, we want to display a list of users, and there I found this GitHub endpoint, which is just API github.com, and then you can use search and pass in users with a query, and that would then be the query that we get from our user search. So I would say we do like 2 lazy loaded features. So first we do features user list user search. Let's call it user search. Minus standalone minus t minus s minus change detection on push. Is this correct? Minus help. I thought it's minus. Okay, it's not. Yeah, that. Yeah, this time I have a detection. Detect. So, finally. Hello Kevin, what do you think about tests in Angular? It's good to know and use unit test and integration, or better only E2E. So, I think it depends on, I have a bit strong, I don't know if it's the most popular opinion on testing, but I think it strongly depends on your use case. I also don't like if companies put, like, if you go to the cafeteria and there is like this huge thing written like at least 80% test coverage and so on. I'm not a big fan of this. I think test where it makes sense, like write a lot of unit tests, especially for services and all these kind of things. But then also integration test and end test, I would be very careful. Like, of course, it depends. If you are the author of a UI library, then integration tests can make a lot of sense. But for end-to-end tests, I would basically try to test the normal flows, the most important flows, because I was once in a project when I still was like younger, and I went and I thought like, okay, let's test. So we tested, we added tons of integration tests, not integration tests, end-to-end tests with Protector back in the days. And those tests were testing everything. And then basically we had a redesign on the UI. And it was so hard to keep those tests up to date. And it was also hard to keep those tests, basically, just to maintain those tests. It was a nightmare. We had like so much effort to put into test, and we gained like little benefit out of it. So I would just, for end-to-end tests, I would probably say go with the most basic features, with the basic flows, test them well, but I wouldn't test like all the crazy combinations and everything. So especially not the obvious things. So we were then even testing, okay, if you click here on this button, then these things should appear. So something that we would anyway notice during development. Yeah, so I'm more like testing is cool, but I would not over test. That's kind of my opinion there. Yeah, so we have features and we have the user search. So what we want to do, of course, we want to add a header. Under the header, we want to have a router outlet. I think we can also use it with self-closing tags now. Then inside our app config, we have the routes, and the routes come from app routes. In the app routes, we would say path user search, then it's load component. Okay, maybe we let Copilot finish first the load children, and then we just change it to load component. And we go to features, user search.component. User search component. Then we add, of course, the case of the empty path. So basically, if the path is empty, we say redirect to user search and we make a path match full. So we should now get user search works, which is pretty nice. So we also can do inside our app component, maybe here we give it a small container. I think Tailwind has some sort of container. I think there is class container md auto or something. Is it md mx? No, I don't think so. Okay. So then let's say just padding of 5. That this container, isn't this padding? Just checking. Let's just do a blue background, because I don't think this reload works. You see? Let me just ensure that this is really working. Yeah, the reload doesn't seem to work properly. Have you seen that? So if I remove now the BG blue. Okay, good. I don't know why it was hanging. Okay, but this looks good now. So good. Now inside our user search component, what we will do is we will add a input, which is type text and class border white, border 2, rounded LG, something like this. Then BG transparent, probably. Is it, or is it Slate 800? Then yeah, border. Do we have to do border solid? Border white, border 2, border solid. I don't want to have it only on focus. I thought it's border 2, border white, border solid, rounded LG. Then we give it a padding of 4. Is this really the truth? Let me restart. So I seem, yeah, somehow it seems like with V it's somehow cached. So I don't know. I've heard from some things. Also, when I once tried analog, Wheat had some really special caching behavior. So let's maybe try to go and not use the Esbuild /Esbuild. So let's maybe go with this, because that's a bit annoying, because I don't remember the Tailwind stuff so well by heart, I would say. So we'll go with a padding of 2 and a full width, something like this. So that's then our search field. And probably outline 0. So that basically removes the inner blue shadow or the inner blue border. Good. So we have the user search, and now of course what we need is a new service, and the service we just put under core. We just call it new file GitHub user search GitHub users.service.ts, something like that. Add injectable, provided in the root, export class, GitHub user service. For now, this is probably a service I want to test. So I will go with the constructor injection. I could use inject. What happened? Bren, what do you mean? You mean regarding the caching? yeah, we have the query here. Okay, we get that, and that basically here we could have some models. Maybe we do that under, I don't know, under shared. Probably will do. Is it core or shared? It's actually shared then. Shared model. Let's just go shared. I mean, we can do model. Yeah, so for the caching, what happened is basically when I changed to Esbuild, then sometimes the Tailwind, and adjusted the Tailwind class, it was not refreshing here. So it worked sometimes, but sometimes not. So basically I changed, for example, what I was doing, if I remember correctly, if I did something like this, BG blue 600. Now this works, but let's change it again to Esbuild because I switched back. Let's see if we can reproduce it. Esbuild. So we go with Esbuild. We go npm run start. Did I? Somehow my IDE always puts in like an extra add. Don't know why. But now we are again on Esbuild. So now, basically, let's see if it works. So I removed that. That works. Text blue, BG blue 600 or something. Now the text, okay, that looks still correct. I don't know, it's a bit hard to reproduce because sometimes, okay, this, or do I have to focus it? Maybe that's the thing. If I don't focus, maybe it was my mistake, but now it doesn't refresh. It probably only refreshes when I focus. So that was actually then the confusing thing for me. Because if I remove it here, I would expect that now the browser just refreshes, right? So that I don't have to go over and click so that something happens. Because now you see clearly BG red, and I am in this state and nothing happens, and I go over, and now even I have BG red, but it's not there, right? Let's again do blue 600, so nothing happens. Okay, because I think if I don't use Esbuild, then this just works. That's at least what I think. So let's go back. Now I have BG blue, and now I just remove it. I don't do anything. Is this already served? Okay, now let's try it again. Okay, this doesn't have to do something with the builder actually. I don't know why this. I would have expected that it reloads, but maybe it's because I have it inline. Let's see what happens if I also. Yeah, because if I have it here, then of course I navigate away. So this does nothing, and here it does it, but then it also does it here. Okay. So it's actually not the Esbuild, but that's good to clarify. Thanks, Brandon, for asking again. So then let's serve it again with Esbuild. Good. Now what we want to do on this input, so basically we would have a search term, I would say, and that's just a signal. I probably don't need the type, should be able to infer it. What's happening with my ID now? Okay, we have the signal imported, and then we would say on input, we would say search term.set. Can we do it like this? Input input.value. And then let's just go and just in the constructor just log that out. No. Something like this. Will this work? Because let's see, console. This probably doesn't work because it's never read, I guess. Ah, no, it does. It's all good. So yeah, we get our search term. And now what we want to do, of course, we don't want to fire like 6 requests if we type like 6 quick keystrokes. We actually want to debounce those kind of things. And that's a good case where RxJS comes in. So I would say we do 2, isn't it? 2. Okay, let me see. We just go with some stream so that the ID has this. And we say we use this dot search term and we just convert this to observable. So this should now give us an observable which we can pipe. And inside here what we can do is we can say debounce time. Debounce time 500. Then also probably distinct until changed. That's also something that you usually want to do. We want to filter out if there is no term. Length bigger, basically like this. Let me also remove that. If term.length is bigger, no, bigger than 0. Something like that. And then of course we want to switch map. Switch map that yeah, into the GitHub user service. The GitHub user service you still have to import. So we would say private user service, and here we are going to use inject. GitHub user service, right? So something like this. Switch map, we get that back. And then what we need to do is basically we call this, that's actually then user GitHub users. And what we want to do is we want to convert this back to a signal. And so if we convert that back to a signal, what we have to do, we have to pass in an initial value, and it's not done like this, it's initial value and to something like this. Then of course here it's not const. So we have a GitHub user signal, and now what we can do is inside here we can have a div. Actually it's more like an unordered list, and then inside this list we would go for GitHub. You can see how Copilot is not yet trained for GitHub for signals. So we'll go like that. And then inside here we will probably do like a image class would be rounded full, and then we go with a width of, I don't know, 12 and a height of 12, a object fit, object cover. So that's object fit cover. And what else? Just thinking what else we want to do. Probably, yeah, probably we want to display the image, right? So we want to have like the source is then, should we type? We should probably type this thing. So in the GitHub user service, we return an observable of anything. How about if we type this response, and how about using, so that would be this one. Basically, yeah, that's, I cannot, maybe just go with that. And we say ChatGPT. Those are the use cases where I find it's useful, hopefully. Please generate me a TypeScript interface for this response. GitHub user login, yeah, so those are the things where it's really useful. So we go there under model and we say a new file GitHub user.ts. Usually people do .model.ts. Model.ts, we paste it in and we export that interface. Let's be nice to AI. No, let's not credit AI. We did it. So, and then of course in the response what we get back is not directly the user, so we get a total count, and what we would still need to do here, we still need to map that to basically rest of the items. Thank you, Copilot. You are correct about this one. Okay, and then we can actually type that here. So what we would get back is, how did we call it? GitHub user, something like this. And then also here we can type it, so it would be observable of GitHub user. Yeah, good. So where were we? Inside our user search component. Now inside here, what we will do is we will use user dot, doesn't this has, yeah, GitHub users, but now I would expect to get some auto completion dot avatar URL exactly, and then inside here we display user dot, is it your login, or I guess it's login. I guess that's basically the username. Something like this. Did I broke something? Where is my input field gone? I'm not confident that this still. What? Where is my input field? Oh my god. You see, that's what's happening if you rely on Copilot. And then we should have a common module, we just that should be correct. What am I missing? Okay, now. Yeah, we don't provide the HTTP client. Okay, finally we get the good error. But that makes sense because inside our app config, we have to also do next to the route, provide HTTP client. And now we should get, we get a list of users. But of course it doesn't look nice, so let's optimize the styling a bit. So what we will do is we will add a class, again border white, border solid, border 2, rounded LG, padding top, let's go with 2, padding bottom, let's go with 2, and then of course this whole thing also has to be flex, and then the image should have a margin on the left of 5. Let's see. Looks better. We should increase this should be margin, probably 4. Still not. Let GitHub users border white. This is true. I mean, it took the flex stuff, but no, but this should be margin top, margin bottom, right? So if I have like margin top 5 pixels, yeah, isn't it like this? Margin top 5, margin bottom 5, flex, and then of course we should say align or item center. I don't know why also here on the image the left margin is not applied. Why? Also this should have a padding of 4. Let's see. Yeah, that's too much. So this should be min. Did we put there a height on the thing? Why doesn't it grow? I've no idea why my stuff is not correctly applied. So where is actually the margin? So let me quickly move that a bit out. Margin top, border style, so maybe I'm just using Tailwind wrong. March. What's happening here? Maybe try to change the display property. Yeah, maybe. But it should be display flex. Should be okay, right? I mean, let's see. What did I remove there? Item center. I put like a height of... Okay, this height anyway doesn't make some sense. Let's see. What? Because let's say I do style margin top 5 pixels. You see the 5 pixels there. And margin, it's empty minus 0 or whatever. Okay, I have no idea. Let me just restart. What? You see, those are the things. Like what? Is this again a caching issue, or it's so hard to reproduce, but okay. I'm actually not sure if this comes from the... Is this a builder issue or is this a browser issue? I don't know. But then let's also add a height of 12. Let's see. Not. It's not there. Let's again try. I restart. Is there my height 12? Where is the height applied? So if I go like... Okay, that's probably, that makes sense. Okay, I'm not sure. So now the last thing missing is the image. Does the image have like a height? Okay, I will quickly open this in a full tab so that I can get a better grasp of the dev tools. So I will then inline them here. Now, this one, for example, the image with free RAM. Yeah, it's just too small. So we should go with, I don't know, height 24. So that's way too big. Okay, that's way too big. Do we also have to say max width? Is it? CSS. But if I set the height hard-coded, why is this one so big and the other one? So max width 50 pixels and max what? I feel like something's a bit weird because like with 20 to what does it translate? With 24. Okay, that's way too big, but then the 12 was actually okay. Or 12 is 48 pixels, that should be enough. Why does it not grow. So the whole thing should actually grow a bit. I think it started once we introduced I introduced the padding on the wrong thing. Okay, sorry. Now it's good. But then still, this margin left here, because it's margin right. Oh my god, I'm doing so many stupid mistakes. But yeah, that's live coding. But now again, this right margin, where is it? Let me restart. Now it's there. So let's see, to just again this caching issue. So if I go margin 2, I refresh, whatever, I fetch again. Now it's gone, but it's completely gone. Even if I add 5. Okay, now it's good. I don't know. Good, but we have that. We don't want to go like too crazy on styling. You see how much fun that was. But we want to now go further and just route to a new route and pass in the username. And here we are going to use another Angular 16 feature, which is how is it called? Routed component input bindings. I don't know if that's the correct name. I think they just call it component input bindings. So what we can do is we first have to generate a new route. ngGC features not home. It will be features user details. User details -- standalone. Okay, good. Then we have npm run start. Again, our application runs and we have our user details component. Inside this user detail, we say user details work. Inside our app config, what we are going to do is we are going to say under the routes, basically here, we'll add a new path, which we call user details, and then we go as copilot said /username. And now we say redirect to, not redirect to, it will be load component. We can get rid of the path match feature, user details component. Then, yeah, user details component. So we have this component, and what we want to do, we want to basically get access to the username. So what you would usually do is you would go get a hold of the activated route and then basically read the route query params and so on. So what we can do now in Angular 16 is we can go to our app config and just say with component input binding. That's a method we can import from Angular. So we import that. Don't we have to add it? It's not under the provider. Inside. Oh my god, what's going on here? Angular 16. You know, I made a video about how to use it and I forgot it. Ah, it's inside provider router. Yeah, you are absolutely right. Perfect. Thank you. So I think it comes here. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. So add input, and we call this name here has to match with the one name we basically add on app route with this one. So this has to match. So we add username, which is a type string. We say that this always will be there. Yeah, import input from post CSS, no. So from Angular core. Question is if we want to make that directly into a setter. I mean, we could, why not? Like we would say set username, and then we say username string, something like this, and then inside here we get a GitHub user service, so we inject our GitHub user service, and in this GitHub user service we have to add another method, search user, that takes a username, and then what we want to return here is basically something that is similar to this, but we will not go to search, we will just say /users/ then we remove that, and here we say username, then we pipe that. Let's see the request, how it looks like. It's users, for example, like this. Okay, there we don't get back the response, like we don't get back a count and an item, we just get back this. And that would actually, I think the interface is a bit different. So let's again go and ask our good friend over here. Do the same for this. So that would be then, we call it GitHub user details, because I think the interface varies a bit. So let's copy this code, let's go here and we call it new file. Actually we can do it here, GitHub user, and we just export that from here. GitHub user details. We export the interface, and then we basically just return that, which will be no, I want this one. So now finally, and what we return here is of course an observable of our good friend here, GitHub user details, and that's it. Let me also adjust the imports a bit, and then we again go to our user details component, and then we say basically, so this returns an observable, so we say user details is equal to a signal, and we start with an empty object. And then we say yeah, here we probably have to, now I'm curious, because we can convert this to a signal. So how do we deal with this? Either we subscribe here, which is okay, but could we do it other than subscribe? We could maybe make, let's see if that works. What if we say, no, it has to be inside here. So that's now because it's asynchronous. I mean, because I was thinking if we could do a computed signal. Well, that's probably hard. So then let's try the subscribe, because then we can also see the latest feature, the destroyRef actually. So So let's first go with pipe, and then not pipe, and then we say user details, and yeah, we set the new user details, something like this. And then we just, for the moment, just say user details work, and below here we just have a pre, where it's just user details JSON. The JSON pipe we probably have to import. No, it's in common module, that should be good. And what we also have to do on our user search component, we have to say whenever we click, so probably make this a pointer, a cursor pointer, and then we say on this one, we also have a router link. I think this should be enough. User login, and probably we still have to import router link, something like this. So let's see if that works. So I go to, so I find myself, this should now be cursor pointer, but then again, if this is not there, it's probably something cached. So I don't know, let me restart. But now we kind of used the VOD for quite some time now. So Esbuild. Let me switch back and let's see, because we had some issues. Let me switch back and let's see if we still have those issues. I'm just curious. So we can see that we have cursor pointer and we want to navigate, but probably the URL doesn't exist. So we want to navigate to URL segment. Yeah, because again, we blindly trusted GitHub Copilot. Don't do that. Yeah, and here we get all the user details listed. Cool. So now, of course, this is not really nice to display like this. So let's go ahead and make a user details component. So let's go and ngg under user details. We call it a, actually we could do it directly in the same one, but we just call it user card. Something like this, because I want to show you one more cool feature. User card component. So this user card actually takes a input. User card, user, and that's then the GitHub user details. So we call this also user details. And the cool thing now is that with Angular 16 we can say this one is required true. So that's pretty cool, because then you can say that this component actually needs user details in order to work, and you would get an error. So if you would now go ahead and we would say inside our user details component that we are going to use the user card component, and we would do something like this, add user card, we should actually get a compile time error, I think. I don't know if my IDE already supports this, but here we should get, yeah. Here we get an error which says required input user details from component user card component must be specified. So we have to specify user details, which is actually user details. So we have to specify this. We have to call it, of course. But then this should actually type, yeah, because we start with an empty one. How do we do that? So we just say is it optional? No. Can we do it like this? Yeah. So either it's an empty object or we get this. Now inside here we can again go with our Tailwind stuff. So beachy, slate, let's go 600, rounded LG, shadow 2XL, padding of 4, and then we do here like an image, yeah, user details, avatar URL, and then here we could display some names, right? So we could do like a h1 user details dot login, and then I don't know, whatever. So we could display some additional props here. Now user details avatar URL does not exist on type, yeah. So here we probably have to do it like this. Isn't it? I never remember it. I think the previous one was kind of okay, but then probably TypeScript compiles, complaints. Yeah, it doesn't exist, which is okay. So what if we say ngIf I don't think that this TypeScript is able to understand this. Okay. I don't want to lose too much time here. Let's go with any. So yeah, we have something like this. We could do it a bit nicer and still add like display flags and justify center and so on. Okay, that's raw. Flex call. Something like this, so that it looks a bit better, but you get the idea. So we have that, we can go back, we can type, we can search for some users, and we get some details. So we use the required stuff, we use quite some things. Now of course what we still want to do is, I want to try out, where's the Excalibur? So we used required inputs, we used router component inputs, we used standalone schematics, we used the Esbuild, we used signals, we used RxJS interop, to observable, from observable, we used self-closing tags. So let's try to use Jest as well. So let's say we start writing a unit test, and basically previously you could already use Jest, but you had to use Jest preset Angular, so that was the most common one to just write your tests. And now Angular has actually inside the builder has support for Jest. So let's try that, because, or let's first go ahead and maybe for the GitHub user service. So this is something we want to check out. Where is it? New file, GitHub users service.spec. .ts. So what you would do is describe, and then we say GitHub users service, something like this. It should return something, I don't know, like. So what we usually do for such easy tests, and that's also why I went with the constructor injection just for that it's get a bit easier, because then I can just do like system under test GitHub user service, because if I don't go with this dependence injection over constructor, then I have to basically bring in a test bed to mock that. So that's equal to a new GitHub, and that would be, so now this I can basically do HTTP mock. I can go and create my HTTP mock, which has just a Jest function, which doesn't yet exist. So let's maybe just switch directly to Jest. So let's say, what do we have to do to go to Jest here? So based on the docs, I think we have to go first and install npm e-d Jest. So we get Jest. And then finally we have to put in this as a builder for test. So we go to the Angular JSON. So that's the test builder, and you see there is Karma. And we just replace it with Jest. And let's see now, why does he complain? Value should be one of, should be. Yeah, not so sure. Who is actually complaining here? Is this the ID? Let's see. Probably I also have to go to tsconfig spec. Do I have to bring in here the types of Jest? Jest function, HTTP mock, so we call here as any, and then we say should return a user. So we would say suit.system under test search user, so we just call it test. And this is basically actually an observable that would get returned, but we can also, I mean, this test doesn't really make much sense because there's no logic in it. But we just say const expected user. It's just a user. Let's just call it like this, and then we say something like this. So we mock the return value, and then we say, can you do it? Yeah, he can do it. Expected user. We call this actual user. Oh my. Expected user. Why does he complain to be? Yeah, let's see. So let's see if I just go npm run test, or ng test could also be possible. Data path. Okay, let's just see if I say lol Iris, hello, welcome to the stream. So we are building a small GitHub user search with Angular 16. So we basically, the app is nothing special. It's just a small app where you can, I can show you, you go to, you search for some GitHub user, you get a list of GitHub users, you navigate to some details and you display the details. It's more about getting some more hands-on experience and showing and illustrating the Angular 16 features. And right now we are trying to run test with Jest. So let's maybe, before we continue here, get a step back and just really whatever, it should return a user, and we say expect true to be true. Wow. And does this run? So now let's go back. Angular JSONs, what did we have here? We had karma previously. Yeah, why? Why is he always adding like a second add? So with karma, everything seems to be running. Yeah, okay, we didn't add the types, but so this should actually run if we could add here like Jasmine. So this has to run. But you see, we are testing against the real browser. Yeah, free failed. Okay, yeah, that's still GitHub user service. Yeah, because we still have, let's also quickly to not get, let's just focus on this one. So let's get rid of this because I don't want to write too many tests here. Yeah, deleting tests. Yeah. So app components back, good. Let's get rid of this. So we should only have. I just want to see. I've never used Jest like this. I've used Jest a lot, but with another setup, never with the official Angular setup. So we see 2 success. Good. Now, no. Now let's go back to our Angular JSON and say Jest. And now the ID somehow also sees it for whatever reason. So schema validation failed with the following errors. Data path must not have additional properties. Are we missing something? Angular 16. This is still in development preview. Angular 16. Closed. So that's the official blog. And they say, as a result, blah, 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 we have seen significant. Then modifying Angular JSON. So we have build Angular Jest, Angular dev kit build Angular Jest, options, polyfill zone.js testing, tsconfig spec JSON. Alright? Inline style language, so it's this one that probably is an issue. Data path must not have. Okay. Is there still? Do we have to remove this as well? Okay, so it seems like we probably have to remove all of them. JSON is not installed. Okay, it's not like as simple as they just say. Environment JS DOM. Let's see again. Jest builder is currently, yeah. Cool, so it passed. So basically now we are running in Jest, and let's see if we can even in the package JSON watch. I want to have a test watch. Is there a minus watch? Does it get passed to Jest? Because I'm curious. Oh, of course I shouldn't. Because that's then the cool thing about Jest is actually... Do I have to pass in it? Like... Maybe? Schema validation failed. So what I want to do, usually I also have a... So we have Jest running. Can I also do here just Jest? Does this work? 2 failed. So like this it fails. So I'm not sure. Okay, missing semicolon. Yeah, so this is not transformed then. So I'm not sure how can I say to basically ngbuild watch. How can I say here, please start the test in watch mode? Is there like ng test watch? Minus configuration. Minus watch. But it says I don't know if this is possible yet. Doesn't seem to be. So yeah, but we can run tests like this. So but this is still experimental. I think there should still be stuff done. So let's see if our test still works. Because now... No. Cannot find name Jest. Add types Jest maybe. Hello IT mate, it's June, which means the end of the school year. I have a problem with my grades. Do you have hacking skills to hack? Nope. Nope. Even if I would have, like, would probably not do it. So yeah, we pass, but we still get some issues, but our test actually passes. So the GitHub user specs. So you see that it uses module.js. I don't know what this is, where this comes from the plugin Angular compiler. So yeah, we can run Jest, but I think it's not yet ready, right? So yes. Okay, then the last thing, of course, what we want to do is we want to use server-side rendering, because right now, I don't know what the Lighthouse report for this application currently is. New follower, welcome. Let's see what the Lighthouse report is like. Lighthouse, I'm just curious. Analyze page load. There were issues. I don't know. Can I not do... Why? Yeah, otherwise we don't... Ah! Did I... Yeah. Did you ever try to do a Lighthouse report without the running application? I think that works great. So... Let's see, I mean this should be pretty fast because the bundle is super small, but it should be pretty fast. I'm just curious about the report. So performance 69. So you see, enable text compression, minify JavaScript. Yeah, okay. Okay, it's not a production build, right? It's still served on the dev server. I mean, we can try to do like, can we even serve that? Does that work? So if we build it, we ng build it. So we should have a, come on. In the dist folder we have the A16 app, and can we just HTTP server this? Yeah, so this is now production build, so this will give us a better image actually of how fast it really is. If this would work. Why is it gone? So this one is still... that's probably because of the routing. Yeah, so probably for HTTP server we still have to configure something so that the initial route loads. But yeah, anyway, so let me try again. Yeah, he will try to load it like this. So he will try to load /user search and not like this basically. Yeah, so this doesn't work like this. We would have to make it work with /user search. But yeah, what we want to do actually, let's just focus on adding Angular Universal. Server-side rendering with Angular Universal. Yeah. So we just go here. We first git status npx git -cset feed so we push to main. So we don't have here anything. Now basically what we do, ng universal express engine. Yeah, we want to proceed. Yeah. Unable to resolve the dependency tree. Is there a force? Okay, because we are on this 16 next, no modules, while resolving. Is this the correct one? It should be add. Maybe we have to do add next as well. Yeah, so that looks better. Also, why I was taking 000, that's wrong. Good, so we have the packages installed, and now what this does, we can basically now server-side render our application. So if we go to the package JSON, we have def SSR and serve SSR. So I would go and just do npm run def SSR. So now our whole application gets server-side rendered and served to the client. And now here comes the next cool feature. So we should be able to go to, this is localhost 4200, and now we would actually have some sort of flickering. And the cool feature here is that we now can go to our app config and just say provide provide I want some auto completion ID. Is it with I think it's provide client hydration or provide hydration or something. But why do I not get auto completion? Okay, let's go here. Somehow this is broken. Okay, let me see. So if you get provide client hydration, that's what I want, and I want auto completion from my ID. So why don't you give it to me? Also, the import doesn't work. Like, why? But yeah, basically what you have to do is add provide client hydration to the providers and call it. And now okay, it was just too slow. Yeah, now you see. We get that from Angular platform browser. I like to reorder the imports. So we have client hydration now enabled. And now what we want to do is cat in the package JSON. And we want to say build SSR, serve SSR. So serve will serve it from this. So we will first do npm run build SSR. And if you don't know what this feature means, so basically the client hydration means that initially what you had, you basically made the request to the server. On the server you render an HTML, you ship it back to the client, then Angular bootstraps, Angular completely destroys what you had on the server, and then just starts to bootstrap and re-renders the HTML. So basically this was good for the initial load, but then you had the flickering in there, which was not so cool. And now with provide client-side hydration, Angular is able to reuse the SSR that you got back from the server in the client. If this doesn't make much sense, the way I explained it, I have a cool video with resolvers that basically explains the whole feature. It's on my YouTube channel. By the way, if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and subscribe. So it's this channel. You can find me under Nivek, and it's this video actually where we explore this feature in detail. So let's go package JSON serve SSR. So we have our node server, we have this, and now we should be able to do this. Because this is now server-side rendered. This should have like a good score. You see the performance score of 100. Accessibility, we could still work on that, and the search engine optimization also, but this is nice. This is really, really cool. So yeah, we have 100 performance score. We covered all those things. Maybe to round it up, what kind of features did we miss? So we covered SSR, required inputs, router components, standalone schematics, we Esbuild. By the way, we didn't have any caching problems since then. I mean, we didn't do that much since we changed the builder, but actually we didn't have caching issues. Jest we covered, it's not yet there, so basically also if you, what we maybe can add here as well. Go away. Go away. Oh, so yeah, let's bring it here. So what we can do here as well is actually, this is dev preview, right? This is dev preview. This is dev preview. And this also is dev preview. But those things here, SSR, this one, I'm actually not sure if it's dev preview. Let's find out. Provide client hydration. Is this dev preview? Dev preview. So Actually, this is also dev preview, right? Required inputs is good, you can start using them. Route to component inputs, you can start using them. Standalone schematics the same. Self-closing tags, go for it. And then we have the destroyRef and zoneless. So the destroyRef is basically something that allows you to get a hold. So what you can do is, let's go to the app component, for example. So what you can do is basically private destroyRef, and you can inject the destroyRef. And now what you can do with this is pretty powerful, because where would you use it, right? So previously what we often did was, and this is just some pseudocode, we would do, let's say we would have like some stream that comes from, I don't know, some service that gets stream, right? We would get a stream. And then sometimes, usually you subscribe whenever possible, you subscribe in the template with the async pipe, but sometimes it's not so easy to subscribe with the async pipe, and then you just have a callback here. You just subscribe in here, sorry. And you get the values out and you have to do some stuff. And in such cases, to not run into memory leaks, you have to come here and say take until, and basically till the component destroys. So you would need to say this to destroy. What we then would do, forget about this line for the moment. What we then would do is have a destroy subject. Let's say use subject. And then we would implement on destroy, right? In this on destroy, here we would say this to destroy that next. You don't actually have to complete it, next is enough because the take until completes it under the hood. But then basically you would clean up the stream like this. And now with the destroyRef, what you could do is you could come up with a generic operator that basically allows you to clean up easier. So what you would do in, I don't know, let's say in some file, whatever, destroy operator.ts, for example, you would do something like this. You would have a function, destroy operator, whatever, and then inside here you can make like a subject, and then you say, yeah, you would also get the destroyRef. Of course, the way we did it there on top with the inject and destroyRef. And then you can say, basically if destroyRef dot, how was it? Let me quickly check. I quickly have to look it up how it was. The API, but basically what you can do is you can say, not like this. So destroyRef, you could say destroyRef dot on destroy, and you can pass in a callback. And inside here you can say, you would have like a, I don't know how you call this subject, just a subject. And you would then say subject next, and subject complete, and then basically what you would do is you would return something like this, which is a function that then basically returns take until, and then subject as observable, something like this you could do, right? But that's just pseudocode. But it's a cool thing. It's also something that Angular then does under the hood when you use to observable and so on. That's something. And then you can also, another thing that we haven't seen yet, which doesn't make sense for us to do, I think, in this small example, or we could maybe even try it, is basically to disable zone.js. Because previously you could disable zone.js, but you could not disable it for standalone. So let's see how the API was again. So what you would do to disable zone.js, you would go to main.ts. Inside here you have the app config, basically here, and under providers, let me reformat that a bit. Under providers you would say provide zone change detection options, and then not this one, it will be event coalescing true, right? Something like this. And then let's see what that means. So if you start it like this, then of course if you search something, you still get back stuff. Is this without zone? Because that should not. This is a. Let me check again. Let's see. Angular 16 disable zone. How to? Yeah, that's still old. Zone. Isn't there like Angular 16? It's here. Zone. Configure zone. Provide zone change detection event coalescing true. We added an option. Aha, probably we have to say false. And then it should probably stop working, right? So if we go, so this still works. Let's see if I have to restart. Why does this still work? Okay, I'm a bit complex, like complex. So let's see if we have a button and we just say increment and decrement. So we have a click. We just say increment, and then we do so we would decrement. So we just say we have a counter. We just do it like this. Usually you would go with signals. This at counter plus plus. Because I would not expect this to work, but it does. Isn't it like this? Why is this all working? So that has to be a zone.js. After initial release, to able to configure with new, provide zone change detection. Okay, I still have to check why this does work, or because I would expect that if we set this to true or false, it doesn't work like this. Cool, but I think now we covered everything. We saw that some things, so the zoneless, there I'm pretty surprised that this doesn't really work. DestroyRef we didn't really use it, but we saw it, self-closing text, so we basically covered the whole list. We also saw some strange behavior with the dev preview, with the Esbuild. Jest also is not yet fully there, but again, it's all dev preview, so I think that's cool. Yeah, so that's basically it for today, unless you have any questions or want to see anything else. But besides that, let's see if somebody does Angular. Okay, that's JavaScript. Lynch, ML, coding, chat, guest, a Twitch community, home screen, standalone game. I mean, oh my god, there's advertising, I don't like that. Is there somebody doing some cool stuff? Study stream of accountability? No. No. We don't want to go there. So this Lynch ML seems like... This Lynch ML seems pretty cool. So new follower, thanks a lot. So basically we will actually try to rate him. So let's see, and let's try to get rate channel, Lynch ML. So let's start the rate, and thanks everybody for joining.